Hi. The shoot was in the main excellent. I can't recall a single problem, and we really hammered the shoot minutes out. If you think it was a 90-minute movie shot in just 7 days, so we were averaging over almost 13 minutes a day. In actual fact, some days we shot over 20 minutes, whilst others we shot less, simply due to the location requiring far less or the complexity of the shoot, as there were many more cars present for a particular scene. We shot Covent Garden, Soho, the South Bank, Piccadilly, on the tube, on the bus, in a taxi. Always get permission to shoot where you want to. The highlight was probably the National Gallery, and of course this cost, but it was such a majestic surrounding, and I made the most of the paintings, knowing in advance exactly which ones I wanted to complement the story. Stu Biddlecombe is a brilliant DOP and has gone on to great things. He shot a huge amount of The Handmaid's Tale. With the nature of my shoot, he wasn't available for much of it, so I had to use stand-ins, which I found harder than I thought. My lead cast were great, but so too were my minor role players. It was just a case of asking favours and being really fortunate that they made themselves available. But the planning, my planning as producer and director, was almost meticulous because I had to be. I scoped every location so well beforehand whilst writing the script, so I'd run any given scene through my head a million times before we shot it, and this paid off thousandfold in the shoot. It meant that we could set up with minimal fuss, get the shot and clear off before anyone was any the wiser. So brilliant too with mobile phones. Tash could be the other side of the river, and once we were set up, I could ring her as a call to action, and she'd set off. Working with actors I knew definitely helped. I knew them, they knew me. We had a trust and an understanding, but that wasn't true for everyone. I didn't know Charlie Mayer, the male lead named Duncan, beforehand, but I know that if you have a solid understanding of what actors need and the vocabulary to talk with them, they'll be putty in your hands. Actors in the main are built to please. You just need to give them the ammo to do so. Sound production, design, wardrobe, all these took a back seat because of the nature of the script I'd written. Of course, the soundtrack was a vital component, but that again would be created in studio conditions far away from the chaos of the set. I remember at one stage we were in a tube. We pulled into a station and a massive crowd of tourists had boarded, but they saw what we were doing and were very respectful and kept away, shutting down their animated clamour for our benefit. In general, people are understanding, accommodating. That's been my finding. You'll always get the ones who have to look down the barrel and have to make you go again, but that's really not much to complain about. It's a natural reaction as you realise there's some filming going on. Aside from London itself, the coat was the star. Almost a character in and of its own right. And everything pretty much went like clockwork. I must bring up one situation though. There was a scene where Jane Grey was sitting in her car, basically stalking her ex, looking out as night fell. We simply didn't have the lights, any lights, for my DP to use, and as it got darker by the second and the shot got flatter and flatter, Stu got understandably upset. It was my lack of kit that produced the situation, but not only did it make the shot look bad, it made him look bad as the DP. At the time I was happy for it to go inky, for her head to be a murky silhouette, but in hindsight I should have managed it far better. I just didn't understand the camera or the lighting capabilities enough prior to being in that situation, and I'm not at all surprised that Stu was upset. The other problem I had was with the second DP. As I mentioned, I had a couple of covers when Stu wasn't about. One of the things I noticed about film school was the propensity for all the other disciplines to believe it was their film. For the writer and the director, this is more understandable, but when the production designer or the cinematographer starts doing it, you know you're in trouble. At this point, I'd shot Jane arriving at the front door and ringing the doorbell. My next shot was to be inside between the two leads, but the DP decided he wanted reverse shots and then details of what passed just inside the door with the two people who answered it. A complete waste of time, but he wouldn't be told what to do. In the end, the quickest thing to do was to let him go and shoot whatever he felt he needed to shoot, and then get on with my film, in the full knowledge that all he'd just wasted 40 minutes on wouldn't make the cut. I think he was of the opinion that I would reach the edit and be forever grateful for the extra stuff that he'd shot. But what he didn't understand was I was editing it in my head. I clearly saw the film, the finished film, in my head. It was an interesting moment, one that makes you take stock and realise other people also have a clear idea of what your film is, independently of the one you're trying to make. It was perhaps exacerbated because he was both young, inexperienced, and was jumping in on a shoot he'd had no previous work on, hence perhaps nervously overcompensating. As a student, he would also have been working with nervous, inexperienced directors who maybe didn't understand the meaning of the word coverage. But I wouldn't like to have seen him pull that stunt on a pro paid gig. Other than that, though, I think I had far more trouble in the edit than I ever did at the shoot. So much of movie making is about people management, looking after and getting the best out of a series of different skill sets, ensuring they're happy, that they're up to speed with what's needed, yet still engaged and confident enough to feel they can and should contribute wherever they feel they can. That's the whole point. They're bringing in an expertise to the table that you don't have, trying to make this thing the best that it can be. So it's your job running the show that their skills are brought to the fore.